passage as she enters what cave biologists call the dark zone. It's pitch black and devoid of any sunlight.
This is a pretty extreme environment, actually, for a species to live in because it's got so little energy. For a species to survive there, it really has to be specially adapted for that environment. So this here is a cave-adapted shrimp, and it's fully cave-adapted. It's a full troglobite. It's got no pigment whatsoever, no eyes. Matter of fact, you can see right through its body. You can see the body is totally translucent, and we're actually seeing its internal organs. Another reason we know it's cave-adapted is because the antennae are so long, almost 2 times as long as the body of the animal itself, and that's something that you'd never see in a surface species. Also, its pinchers are very elongate, much more thin and fragile than you would see in a surface species. So all of these are characteristics that you see across all animal taxa.
This is known as convergent evolution, where animals even from different species will develop similar characteristics as they adapt to the cave environment. At the other end of the cave passage, Darryl continues his hunt for quartz, but his time in the Tian Kung is running out. Then, his luck appears to change.
This is exactly what I'm looking for to try to date this cave. I can't tell quite yet. It looks like this is mostly limestone, and I need the mineral quartz, which is not in limestone. But I'm looking. One way you can tell is to scrape it with a knife. Yeah, so the knife scratched it. So that means it's softer than the knife, and that tells me it's calcite. So calcite is softer than the knife, quartz is harder than the knife. Looks like they're all calcite.
The limited supplies of food and water mean that the expedition have to leave the Tian Kung today. It's another setback for Darryl. Without quartz, he can't begin to date the caves in this region. But there's one place that they haven't yet explored, which could be a crucial piece of evidence for Darryl.
Oh, look at that cave.
An almost inaccessible cave halfway up the wall of the Tian Kung.
So you've got to be at least 100 meters.
The reason the cave is so high in the cliff, Darryl thinks, is due to huge forces in the Earth's crust, which are pushing the land upwards. It's known as tectonic uplift.
We've learned a lot about how these caves form. One of the really important characteristics is the fractures. You also have to have tectonic uplift so that you can make a hole for the rocks to collapse into. If you don't have a really big cave, you can't have a really big Tian Kung. And there's the cave.
If Darryl can find quartz in this cave, not only can he calculate how old the cave is, he can measure the speed of uplift in this part of China, which will help him answer big questions about how the planet works.
The fact that this cave is way up in the cliff. The cave didn't form in the middle of the cliff. It formed down at the bottom where the river was flowing. So that tells us that the river used to be up at that level. As a geologist, that's really exciting because it gives us a picture of the past. So we can learn about how the cave formed, but we can also learn about the tectonic uplift rate in this part of China. The river would have started near the top, and then over time, it cut down nearly 100 meters.
Yeah, with the tectonic uplift.
With the tectonic uplift, that's the key. That's how we get to Tian Kung. Here, in this part of China, is we've got the tectonic uplift that helps drive the river incision and form these gigantic caves.
This cave, suspended high in the wall of the Tian Kung, is like a snapshot of when it was still young and a river flowed through it. If they can find quartz there, Darryl can get a fix on when these massive caves began to form and how fast the land here is rising. But access to the cave will be far from easy.
We had to think about how the best way of approaching that feature was. A lot of these distances are immense, and the issues of getting across really is a logistical nightmare. What we decided to do was access it from the top of the Tian Kung. We felt it would be a far safer way of getting into that entrance.
Daryl and the expedition team have made their way to the rim of Bandong Tian Kung. The cave has never been explored. For the entire team, this is virgin territory.
OK, you ready for a power-up, mate?
They've called in aerial specialist Simon Westmore, who wants to trial a new piece of kit.
Going right.
The Octocopter, a remote-controlled hovering camera system built by Simon. It will allow Daryl to get a close-up look at the cave entrance, and he hopes will tell him whether this cave is a good candidate for quartz.
What I would like to see is get over towards the cave entrance and then sort of go down in front of those bushes that are growing in the bottom part of the cave entrance.
OK. Right, going down.
That's what I want to check out, is underneath those boulders and see if there's any river sediment in that. Just keep on going down till you hit that flat face of bedrock down at the bottom.
OK.
It's a very difficult piece of kit to fly. It doesn't matter how much experience you've got in a situation like this. Nerves are going to be there.
It's a breeze. I'll have a breeze coming out of that hole or something, boys.
Now you're very close to the cave now, I think. Back. Now you're at the cave.
Right, coming back for land, boys.
Safe, mate.
That was in the cave, man.
But it hit me. The reason you're having problems is
There's a gust coming out of that hole.
Cave, right? And that's what cavers look for when you got a big cave. Yes. We weren't able to see conclusively whether that cave went on or not. It just went into darkness. So we definitely have to get over there. But the really promising thing was, Simon was saying that it looked like there were gusts of wind blowing his remote access camera out of that cave. And that's something we look for as cave explorers, as an indicator of a big cave.
It's just what Jed wants to hear, the chance to be the first to climb down into this cave.
When you're looking over the edge, let's say, of a really big drop, you never really lose that adrenaline rush that comes to you.
But it's immediately clear this will be a tricky descent.
I think the quality of this wall is really bad, isn't it?
It's horrendous. It's too many overlaps.
We've just got to make a lot of re-belays, haven't we?
For me, the hardest thing about vertical work is the waiting, where you're just sitting around thinking about going down this massive pit. For me, at least, I get a little nervous. We have to rely on each other for our lives. When you're on rope, if somebody has rigged that incorrectly, you could die.
Okay. Okay, Daryl's going down the rope.
Once you get past the rebelays and you're just on that vertical section of rope, that's the time when you can look around and kind of enjoy the scenery. Look at the trees down below you and look over and see the cave in the other direction.
It's a very privileged feeling to be dangling on a rope like a spider with all that beneath your feet. It really is sensational.
This is great. It gives you a really great perspective on this Tian Kung and the caves leading in and out of it. Makes you feel so small, dangling up there over those trees.
It's so dry in here, isn't it?
As far as Jed and Daryl know, no one has ever set foot here before.
The first time you enter an unexplored cave, you don't know what you're going to find. So you're always filled with apprehension about what lies round the next corner, or what lies in the darkness that sort of beckons you on beyond.
It's all degraded flowstone. That's disappointing.
Yeah.
No sand or gravel.
Not the clues we're looking for at all.
No.
Did you find anything?
No.
Me neither.
Nothing at all, no. I think it's just going to finish here, actually.
Yeah.
Just all seems calcited up. Completely calcited up.
It's a very old cave.
Yeah.
We're definitely the first here, so we'll probably get to name it. What do you think?
Yeah, well, we've got to, haven't we, really, if we survey it?
Anyway, I think we'd better make a move.
Oh,
God.
You all right?
On his side. In the recovery position, yeah.
I've got some water if you need it.
Jed?
Okay, all right, yeah.
In the back of my head was, okay, how are we going to get him out of this cave as fast as we can?
What's happening?
Oh, I just felt sick, actually.
If you have to get out on a stretcher, it can be extremely difficult, and you have to know that you can rely on these people to get you out.
I had this bloody awful stomachache. I must have just fainted, did I?
Yeah.
I was trying to find out if he'd ever done this before, or if Sean knew anything about this. But yeah, one of the first thoughts, of course, was for his safety.
Oh, you feel very sick.
Yeah.
He's got a stomachache.
I had this really bad stomachache.
When did it start?
Last night, yesterday.
Last night, okay.
And I, oh.
No problem.
God, did I just
Put
faint?
your head between your knees.
I've never
Jed,
fainted
yeah.
in a cave before. Bloody hell, I don't think I've fainted before.
Take some water, yeah?
Yeah, maybe some water.
Immediately there was this concern about how we're going to get this guy out the cave, and well, for me, I said, no, I'm going to be all right, I'll be able to get out.
I think it's called Fainting Cave now.
Fainting cave, bloody hell.
Fainting Cave's the name.
We haven't.
I'm sorry about that, folks.
I stood up and I felt like I had all my faculties about me, and there was no doubt in my mind that I would be able to get out.
Fortunately, he was able to self-rescue, which made things just 100 times easier. But I know that with the crew we had, we could have gotten him out of that cave. But it could have been a very serious situation.
It was sheer determination that got me out. I'm a very self-dependent sort of person who has been in many, many scrapes in caves and always managed to survive them.
Jed lives to fight another day, but Daryl's final shot at getting the quartz he needs has failed.
There's no evidence of river sediment at all in there. It's all just breakdown.
He knows that this is just the beginning of a long-term project for him, and he'll be back to search other caves in Tian Kung. But for now, the expedition is over.
You got to look in a lot of caves to find the right one with the sediment, and it was worth a shot. So we spent some time getting down there. If it had paid off, it would have been great. It didn't. It's a disappointment.
You got a bit of colour coming back now.
I know. I need a bit of colour, bloody hell. Yeah.
Some of the ideas have panned out and some of them haven't. I was hoping to find a lot more quartz sediment here.
Finding quartz would have helped Daryl work out the speed this landscape is being shoved upwards. That data will have to wait for another day. He's seen enough evidence on the ground, though, to be sure his hunch is right. The unique way that Tian Kung are clustered here jumps out to his trained eye. He thinks that there is a direct link between here and one of the most tectonically violent places on Earth, the Tibetan Plateau.
The interesting thing here is the Tibetan Plateau is very, very high. It's 5 kilometers high, and by the time we get down here, we're at sea level. You can think about it sort of like a hydraulic jack, where the weight of the Tibetan Plateau up here is pushing down on the weaker middle crust, and it's squirting in here underneath southern China. That's why this area is uplifting, is that there's a weak layer in the middle crust. The edge of the uplift from the Tibetan Plateau sort of goes around in this funny shape around the Sichuan Basin. So this area is the edge of the uplifting zone in China. And you'll see all of the Tiankang we find are in this zone right there. And my idea here is that we're in a sweet spot for cave formation, where you've got some uplift, but it's not too fast and not too slow. The work here, even though it looks like we're just looking at Tiankang, what we're really doing is trying to tie it into a bigger picture of the tectonics of China, a bigger picture of understanding how the collision of India into Asia has shaped the landscape of the Earth. We're looking at continental scale features, and that's a big thing, tying in these cave sediments that we find in the middle of Guangxi to the collision of India into Asia and the growth of the Himalaya and the Tibetan Plateau. So as a geologist, tying all these things together is really a thrill. It's really satisfying. These caves held a lot of time inside them. The area began uplifting millions of years ago, and these caves record that history as they're cutting deeper and deeper in the rock. We think we know so much about the surface of this planet, but to science, this is a new landform. It's a new type of landscape. So it's an exciting time as a scientist to be able to step in early in the time that we're starting to understand and explore this landscape.
So that's one Tiankang we discovered.
Right.
We did more research to find more caves, to get more evidence, such as the quartz inside the cave, to get more or good explanation of the Tiankang evolution.
Spending this time in the Tiankang, that's something that very few scientists have ever done. So for me to get a chance to come in and see these really amazing species right in person has been just a chance of a lifetime.
All the Tiankangs in the world, most of them are situated right here, just within a few tens of kilometers of where we're standing. So there's something special going on here. There's just the right mix of geology. We're in a little sweet spot